What if you could 10x your revenue without acquiring new customers? So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the 6 different ways that you can increase the lifetime value of a customer, make each of them worth more according to Alex Hormozi, which is the same principles that I used to make almost $120,000 more for one of my clients without acquiring a single customer. And so I'm going to be talking about exactly how to do that. So if you're a service-based business, this is the video that you need to be watching, because think about how if you could turn your $10,000 client into a $50,000 client or a $100,000 client, how would that change your business? How would that change your service? To hire A players, invest in the best tools and systems, and spend more to acquire that customer. Just think about all of these things, because really there are only 2 ways that you can make money in your business. You can either keep competing on price and consistently find new clients, or you can 10x your customer value, make more profits, have happier customers, work less in your business, and you do this by increasing the lifetime value of each customer, or as Hormozi calls it, the LTGP. So this is lifetime gross profit. But just think about it like, how much is each customer worth to you? What we want to do is add a 0 onto the end of that. So the reason that we do this is because the trap that most businesses are in is that you have a retainer, and then your delivery costs are most of that retainer. And so really at the end of the day, you're just left with a tiny, tiny margin, and that's the real profit. And this is the reality of most business owners, especially if you're a service-based business like an agency or a consultant, and it's incredibly difficult to turn a profit and scale. And so it's exhausting. You end up sweating, running, but the result ends up being 0. So customers will always churn, and you can expect 30 to 40% of customers to churn. CAC will increase, so the cost of acquiring a customer will increase. The stress level is at a max, and the time to profit is often 3 to 4 months, which is ridiculous. So Hormozi flips that on its head with his 6 different ways to increase the lifetime value of a customer, so you can actually acquire them initially at a profit and then make way more money per customer, because you spent all this time and effort acquiring the customer. What if you could just 10x the value of that customer, the amount of money that they pay you in the lifetime of them being in your business? So think about it like this. This is this paradigm shift that I want you to buy into, right? So you've got the old way of making profits, which is get more customers. You end up competing on price, dealing with churn, building better systems and processes because you got more customers. You have to service all those customers. You got to train the team. You got to hire new people. Like, there's so many moving parts. But that is incredibly difficult. And the cost to do that is actually a lot higher. Now, it may not seem that way on the front end, but on the back end, all the operational stuff is so expensive. And then the cost of acquiring that customer to get that initial cost back often takes, like I said, 2 to 6 months. What if you could increase the value of each customer, and so you bring the difficulty of delivering that service down, and then the cost of getting the money back for acquiring that customer is instant, which is why we need to be focused on the LTGP. So everyone usually talks about lifetime value, but that's very vague. What it actually you should be focused on is lifetime gross profit, because we're in this business to make profit. Profit is good. Greed is good. We want to grow a business. We are not running a charity here. Profit is the thing that you should be measuring against. So if your retainer is $2,000, right, and your acquisition cost is $5,000, you need to keep that client for 2.5 months just to break even. That's 2.5 months of staff costs, tooling costs, your time, your effort, and you don't even know if they're going to stick around or they're going to pay the invoice. And it's so frustrating. Think about how difficult it is to scale a business like that versus having somebody come in and on the first day, they've paid for their acquisition plus some. You're already in a profit. And then each month after that, you make more money from them than you did the previous month. It's a dream. This is why so many service businesses feel busy, but they are broke. They're optimizing for revenue, not profit. So we want to optimize for gross profit. That's the actual money that you keep. So revenue is not the goal, gross profit is. And think about it like lifetime revenue minus cost to deliver equals the lifetime gross profit. And so Hormozi talks about this in some of his workshops that I have access to in the private school here. You can see in the ACQ Scale Advisory, he's got a bunch of really sexy stuff in the workshops here. And if you want me to show you how all of this works, I'm going to be breaking down every single one of these very soon. Make sure that you are subscribed, because this cost me $18,000 to be a part of, and you're going to get it for free. Like, just think about how crazy that is. I'm going to make video content for free. Now, it's not going to be coming from him, obviously. So if you want to spend $18,000, you can go in there and you can do that. Or if you want it completely free and delivered to you in a visual Miro board way with my New Zealand accent, then subscribe, all right? So total cash received in bank account over the relationship of your client, of the client relationship. Now, so I want to show you, first of all, that I know what I'm talking about because I've actually done this. So this same method generated $118,000, and here is the proof. You can see here that I've blacked out a lot of the stuff that's going to like leak and give away sensitive information, but you can see that gross revenue was $18,000, net revenue was $110,000. And so what happened was, it was for a software company that their audience were video creators, and we had a list of, I think it was about 60,000 people who were all customers at some point. And what we needed was revenue fast. And so traditional thinking is like run paid ads, launch to cold traffic, spend money on acquisition. But why ignore people who have already trust you, already know the value, and already bought from you? So yes, you can go off and you can build something brand new, or you can wrap something slightly differently. And you can either pre-sell something, and again, this is something that I did with another client of mine, right? So let me show you this. This is a different client, also in the software space, where we were able to pre-sell a product that did not exist yet to an existing audience, where we sold $93,000 of a product that did not exist. And so it was unbelievably successful. And it was all following these methods that I'm going to teach you here. Because you've got this list of people that already know, like, and trust you. Why are you trying to acquire a customer and pay to acquire them when you've already paid that money? Make each customer worth as much as possible. So our strategy was, we combined all the products we had and built a massive bonus stack and a product valued at $2,400 at a 92% discount. So we sold it at $199 and we crushed it. We made over $100,000, almost $120,000. I wrote all of the funnel, all the VSLs, all the sequences, and 5 days later, we had $118,000 generated with 0 new customers and 93% profit margins, and the same email list that they have been on for years. Now, how do you pull this off for yourself? Well, there are 6 different levers that you can pull to increase the lifetime gross profit of your customers that you already have, or when you acquire them, instead of acquiring them and they're worth $1,000, this is how you make them worth $10,000. Okay, so again, if you are a service-based business, my goodness, you need to be paying attention to this. And if you're looking at some of this stuff, I'm going to go through like all of this stuff. And if this is overwhelming to you, you don't want to do all this yourself, then here is what I suggest. Go to dopaminedigital.io, which is my agency. Click this button. First of all, like, go through and see that we're legit and we actually did this. This is the founder that we worked with to raise the $118,000 from his existing list. Also help them triple their revenue and exit the company for multiple millions of dollars. Lots more examples of massive wins and a whole bunch of other sexy AI stuff that we do. But if you want me to come in and just build all of these systems for you and make each customer worth 10 times more than they currently are, and then you don't have to do any of this stuff, go through, click this button, fill out the form. I will audit your entire business and get you a growth plan delivered with a custom Loom video in the next 72 hours, completely for free, to show you what it would look like if we were to inject all of these systems into your business and make all of this happen for you. So if that sounds interesting, click the first link in the description and go to dopaminedigital.io. All right. So coming back here, we have price anchor. So lever number 1 is a price anchor. This is Hormozi's number 1 lever because it's the biggest immediate impact. Make your price feel like a steal. So people don't buy prices, they buy relative value. And the psychology, and again, this is something that I literally just went over here, and this is the lever that we pulled dramatically to extract this because we needed cash fast. It was the price anchor. A couple of other little things that I'm going to reveal in a second, but essentially the psychology is that the total price is $2,500 and the bundle price is $199, and so they save $2,000, and with an enormous amount of scarcity and urgency, they take action. You get an instant yes. And so if you're a consulting business, for example, you're currently charging $2,000 a month and you want to bump it up to $3,000 a month, you can use a price anchor. So people do this all the time in movie theaters, in online marketing, in electronics stores. You create a new standard price, and then you offer 2 options. You've got a payment plan where they can split this new price, or they can pay in full, and then they get the best value. And so you now, instead of presenting your core price as the only option, you present something which is much more premium and more expensive, and then that anchors the price really high in their mind. And now you can insert your actual price and like drive everybody to that, and then they will compare it against this and not everything else, right? So you can even say stuff like, look, most people choose option 2, but there's option 1 if you want that. High reference point, your actual price, massive perceived value turns into a sale. Number 2 is cost optimization. So high revenue doesn't mean anything if margins are garbage. So can we get better margins? Because revenue is not profit. So this is all about increasing profit margins without changing the price. What you don't want is a high lifetime value and bad margins. This is fake growth. And this is what, e-com people say. They flex $1 million days, but their margins are 7% something, so how much money they're actually banking. So let's say that you run a web design agency. Before you're spending, the cost is $5,000, but you've got US designers, custom build, and you maybe gross 40%. You put $2,000 in your pocket. Is there a way that we can outsource some of this either to countries where the cost is not so high, and then you back that up with some SOPs and templates that people can start from, or you productize your service a little bit better so that it's more off the shelf and you can deliver it faster, and you don't need to rely on the freelancer or the team to think as much. And I saw this the other day. I was ordering an acai bowl. The team is not the best acai bowl makers in the world. They're just following a very, very structured process. They put the acai bowl on a weight, on a scale, and then they put the exact amount of strawberries in there to equal 50 grams. They don't do 51 grams, they do 50. And so what kinds of processes do you have in your business? Because once you've got really solid processes that only will take, now with Claude, my goodness, you can do this in an afternoon. And now you can start outsourcing some of that stuff to, let's say, the Philippines or South Africa or Eastern Europe. And now you can have 80% gross margins with a $4,000 take-home profit. And so let's say you handle 10 projects per month. You used to make $20,000 a month. Now you make $40,000 a month. That is $250,000 difference per year. And this is essentially what private equity firms do, and why sometimes people notice quality drop-off. Now, you are in control, and I'm not saying deliver poor quality. I'm just saying, can you optimize the delivery process somewhat? Again, this is what we... I hate to sound like a broken record, but this is what we do inside of Dopamine Digital, is that we insert all of these AI systems into your business, like LinkedIn DM systems, reply agents and bots, customer churn predictors, inbound AI SDRs, long-form video content engines. And all of these things that are they going to be as good as a $5,000 full-time employee doing the replies? Sometimes, actually, because they reply in 30. We can reply in 30 seconds now. Unless you employ somebody to stare at a phone for 24 hours a day, they can't do that. So there are some pretty powerful things that you can do with AI without compromising on quality. So automations, offshoring talent, better tooling, and again, if you haven't explored Claude Code, make sure you subscribe because I am going to release the banger of all bangers on how to use Claude Code, N8N, and all these other tools to create a automated system that generates you leads and closes deals while you sleep. And then templates and systems. So every dollar you don't spend on delivery is a dollar in your pocket. Optimize once and profit forever. Really powerful. Now, number 3 is a frequency shift. So turn one-time buyers into repeat revenue. This is a big one. Many of you have a product that you sell once and then you need to scramble to find more people. What if they bought once and they never stopped buying? What if you were like Coca-Cola and they bought once and then that was it? What if your lifetime value at Starbucks on a $4, $5 drink was $27,000? What if each customer that came into Starbucks that wasn't a Starbucks customer before was worth, was it $25 or $26,000, $27,000 to you? How much money could you spend to acquire that customer? $25,000, right? Basically, you'd still make a margin. Like, obviously, you're not spending that, but my point still stands. So if you've got this one-time model, you make $10,000 off of the customers versus making almost 10 times more with predictable revenue and built-in momentum. And so it's the same client, but it's a 3x LTV. Now, or in this case, 9x. So how can you go from project to retainer? Now, what we do is a pilot project that rolls into a retainer. So we use the pilot as an attraction offer, and then we upsell into the retainer, and then we also have a whole bunch of other back-end upsells as well that we use to increase LTGP. So you go from one-off to subscription. Can you go from campaign launch to management? Can you go from audit to advisory? Those types of things you want to be thinking about. Now, it's an easier commitment to get the 2K retainer than 10K up front often. If you really want to put this on steroids and make an irresistible offer, you can figure out how to sell the service on the front end for 2K and then upsell them all of the other stuff once they become a client. I rented a car the other day and it ended up being like $900 when I had thought I was only going to spend $300. And so I paid like this upsell charge and this upsell charge and then this insurance fee and then this drop-off fee and then this petrol fee, and I was like, yeah, I'll add that, and all of a sudden I knew, before I knew it, it was like I'm sitting at 2 or 3 times what I'd intended to spend. And so instead of selling, so you can sell them once a year, not once in a lifetime. And so if I look at, Charlie Morgan's thing here, how does this work? If I go about, and then I click on this, right, you'll see that he could quite easily charge a one-time price, but this is per year. Now, I imagine many, many people will purchase this and think, it's per year. I can't even think 3 months in the future, let alone a year, so all I see is that it's a one-time purchase, but it's obviously not. And so at the end of that year, it's going to charge my card again, and he's going to make another $300,000. So little tricks that you can do here. So that's number 3, frequency. Number 4, 5, and 6 is all about the different types of money models. So number 1 is attraction. Number 2 is upsell. Number 3 is downsell. Number 4 is continuity. So can you leverage these 4 components of a offer stack to make more money? Because all of the offers improve your money model, but they all do it differently, right? And so they work great on their own, but together they make your business unstoppable. So we want to talk about upsells. If you don't have an upsell, you need an upsell. I've spoken to a lot of founders who feel dirty about having something as an upsell, and I think it's just the worst mindset to have. It's such a terrible limiting belief. Think about it like this. They just purchased a thing, and most people want either something that's more of what they just purchased, better of the same thing, or a different type of support. So if you've sold something that's a done with you or a do-it-yourself solution, can you have a upsell which is a done for you solution and more of the same thing? So if you've got or a piece of software where you've just sold, and this is what we did with the software client. On the front end, they would buy access to the software, and it came with like 150 front end assets. And then on the next page, we introduced that they could get 10,000 assets, right? And so it doesn't need to be support, and it can also just be way more of what they just purchased. Those are the best upsells. So don't try and sell them something that's going to work with the thing they just bought. Sell them something more of what they just bought, or a higher level of service. So if you've got a $3,000 a month thing where you've got, cover 2 platforms, can we do 4 platforms, weekly reporting, Slack, priority, etc., dedicated account manager, and we upsell them into the premium? Can we cross-sell complementary products that solve the next problem? So if your main offer is 5 software tools, can we sell like a course on how to tell stories? Can we sell them how to turn views into dollars? Can we sell them thumbnail templates, sound effects packs? If you are a email marketing agency, can you sell them lead generation services? Can you partner with an affiliate like me to swap leads so we don't have to build that function into our own business? If you're a massage parlor, can you sell chiropractic services or balms or something like that to help them with the pain? Ads management. If you have an ads management program or a service, can you sell landing pages one time? Can you do email marketing? Can that be in-house, or it can be an affiliate or a partnership that you send leads to each other? It can also be content creation. And so what the customer sees is that month 1, they get ads only. You can either sell it to them directly there and then, or you can sell it after they got their first win. Month 2, you can sell them the same thing plus landing pages. And then month 3, you can sell them the same thing plus emails. And so without cross-sells, you've got a $48,000 LTGP. And with cross-sells, you have a $66,000 LTGP. So this is a 37.5% increase. Now, what's also really important is to monetize the no's. Now, this is one of the most overlooked opportunities. Let me see if I can find you an example. And as if to perfectly illustrate the example of why an upsell is so important, you can see here that we sold a front-end offer for a different client. So I've done this so many times. So I feel like I know what I'm talking about and I'm qualified to talk about it here, is that the front end we made $42,000 on, and this is, again, not to a cold audience, this is to a warm audience, without making spending a single dollar on client acquisition further. We made $42,000 on the front end, and then we upsold a $46,000 product, and then we downsold not a $46,000 product. We made $46,000 with a $199 product, I believe. And then the downsell, I believe, was $99. And so here is $3,500 that we would have completely discarded if we didn't have it here. And more money we made on the upsell than we did on the front end. So imagine there's almost $50,000 sitting here that we would have completely skipped over if we decided that we were too good to have upsells and downsells. So many founders I see don't have that. I think it's a massive mistake. So try and monetize the no's. This is one of the most overlooked opportunities. So 10 will buy the main offer, but 90 are currently saying no. And so you're selling them $0. So when people reach out to work with me and they're not a good fit, I say, listen, not a good fit. I tell you what could be a good fit. go join the Shipper Society. You know, it's $99. So monetize the no's. If you've got a done-for-you system, like a $5,000 a month course, $5,000 a month service, the downsell could be a DIY course. Same frameworks, they implement 10% of the no's by, and all of a sudden you've got a new stream of revenue. Or some sort of group coaching community, just like I talked about here. Join the Shepherd Society. If you're not going to be a done-for-you client, do a done-with-you solution. So if you've got 100 leads, 10 of them buy the main thing, 9 of them buy the course, and 18 join the group, all of a sudden you've gone from having a $60,000 profit to from a $50,000 profit to a $59,000 profit, right? So 20% increase from the same leads. So we're not doing anything extra to find new people. And when you stack all of these things together, you've got the customer with a price anchor, so the perceived value is incredibly high, and you come in and you give them an enormous amount of savings. You lower the cost, so you've got better margins. You introduce some AI, you've got some systems. You've got frequency, so maybe you've got some sort of back-end upsell or continuity offer into a group, or you find things that they can get on a regular basis. You've got upsells, you've got cross-sells, you've got downsells, and then you pummel on the scarcity and the urgency. The result is you make hundreds of thousands of dollars with very, very little delivery cost, with enormous gross profit margins, and it only takes a handful of days to deliver. So this is maximum value from existing relationships, and business be a boomin'. So here is the 90-day playbook and the strategy that I want you to implement now. So this is the fast cash play. The system is designed to be repeatable, and Hormozi calls it a fast cash play every 90 days. So inject cash and profit into the business. It needs to be something scarce, premium, and unscalable. So something you cannot do normally, but for a one-time thing, once in a while, every 90 days, once a quarter, you can do this. And it's like an infinite money glitch where you just print money legally. You get more valuable customers, so a higher lifetime business, higher LTV businesses sell for higher multiples. So this is what I saw with the software client, where we increased their lifetime value of the customer, and we were able to exit the company for multiple millions of dollars. If you have a higher LTGP, have a higher LTV, you can sell for higher multiples. You are more stable, so you're not dependent on volatile algorithm or ad costs for new leads, because acquiring new customers sometimes is very volatile, and sometimes it's incredibly unpredictable. And so if you go back into the well of new customers, it can be difficult and painful and expensive, but if you go and you service your existing customers, you add more value, and you pull these 6 levers, you can make a lot more money and feel a lot more stable. And you have this freedom where you can focus on serving great clients rather than constantly selling. So let me ask you this question. Would you rather have a low LTV path, so that's more clients, more stress, same ceiling, trapped, or a higher LTV path with fewer clients, higher quality, higher valuation, and more freedom? The choice is yours, Neo. More customers and more chaos, or more value and more freedom. So stop chasing clients and make the ones you have worth more. In other words, increase the LTV or the LTGP, the lifetime gross profit. If you don't want to do this all yourself and you want me to implement these systems, click the first link in the description. Let me and my team do it all for you. The very worst case scenario is that you click here, you fill out the form, I audit your business, and you get a free growth plan that I would normally charge $500 for. You get it completely for free without getting on a sales call. All right? So make sure you click that link. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.